I'm just gonna say it. When you start learning English for the first time, you don't really know what's important, so you waste years on things that don't matter. I'm gonna show how to cut that down to months. If someone put a gun to my head today and said forget everything you know about English and become fluent in 6 months or lose everything, knowing what I know now, here's exactly how I would learn English as an introvert and learn it fast. I'll break this down into 3 game-changing steps that if you follow them, you will have a problem having too many people asking if you are a native speaker. Let's dive into step 1 because this one alone could save you months of frustration. Step 1 is all about mindset. I get it. When I first started learning English, I just want to dive straight in, consume as much as I could, practice as much as I could. But rushing into English without the right mindset is like trying to run before you even know how to walk. That is where I went wrong at first and where most introverts get stuck. So let me break down the 3 mindset shifts that completely by the way I learned and changed my results forever. First point, find your why, the foundation. When I was 19, I thought English was just another subject, something that might be useful someday. But I had no emotional connection to it. Like most people, I opened Google, searched how to learn English, and started memorizing vocabulary lists. For months, I was studying grammar, watching random YouTube videos. But here's the truth that nobody tells you. I was learning English, but I was not becoming an English speaker. After months with little progress, I got to a point that I was questioning everything that I was doing. Why this is not working? But then I asked myself one question. Why do I actually want to learn English? Most people think this question is obvious, but if your why is not strong enough, when things get hard, you will quit. For me, it was not about traveling or sounding smart. I was terrified of ended up in the same dead-end job, doing the same thing over and over again every single day, watching life pass by because I couldn't speak English. That fear became my energy. Of course, because I knew how English could change my life with new opportunities. If I could start over, I would spend as much time as I needed finding my true why. And build triggers everywhere, quotes, notes, photos, to remind me why I started. Because people don't quit when they forget how to learn. They quit when they forget why they started. Point 2, embrace the messy middle. After finding my why, I thought progress would be linear. It wasn't. I faced embarrassing moments, days with no motivation, and weeks where I felt like I was getting worse. That is the messy middle, when the initial excitement fades and fluency still feels far away. That is called the valley of despair. Most people quit here thinking struggling means failure, but struggling only means you're growing. Breakthroughs and plateaus are both part of the process. Keep going. Your why will help you get through this phase. Point number 3, kill the perfectionist. I wasted months avoiding speaking because I was not ready. Ready for what? Really? Even native speakers make mistakes. Why I cannot be the one that makes mistakes also? Perfectionism is not about standards. It's fear. Fear of judgment. Every mistake is information. Every failure is feedback. You will never be perfect or fully ready, but progress beats perfection, always. But that is enough mindset for now. What you focus on and what secretly holds you back is just as important. Let me share what really makes a big difference in your progress. To get fluent fast, you need to focus on the core skills: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. But it's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing the right things in the right way. For months, I thought I was learning by watching Netflix in bed, just passively listening. But that was not fluency. It was killing time. The biggest mistake I made was not which skill I chose, but how I practiced them. Before I dive into the skills themselves, there's one breakthrough that completely changed everything for me: practicing in a flow state. Most learners get stuck because they're either too bored with content that is too easy or too overwhelmed with content that is too hard. Your brain either switches off or panic and you get zero progress. But when you find content that is just right, challenging enough to keep you fully engaged, that is when learning becomes addictive and time seems to disappear. I found 3 flow triggers that helped me every time I was practicing any skill. First, I pick material just a bit above my level. Not too easy, but also not too hard. Second, I gave myself one focused session with no distractions. And third, I recorded myself or tracked progress to see real improvement in real time. When I combined these 3, English stopped feeling like a task and became the most exciting game that I had ever played. This approach saved me at least 6 months of wasted effort. Now let me show you how I would apply this flow approach to each skill. Speaking is a skill that everyone dreams of because it's where fluency truly shows. But as an introvert, it was one of my biggest fears. I used to avoid speaking English even with myself because I didn't trust my English and I was too afraid to get disappointed. But eventually, I had to. My breakthrough started with solo practice, talking out loud to myself, recording my voice, and eventually recording myself every single morning. This was uncomfortable, but it was perfect for flow. Focus, just challenging, and giving instant feedback. This also would slowly help me change my identity from that shy person to someone who is more used to take action, less afraid, and started getting used to English as part of my life. Then I move on to real conversations. Once a week, making English practice a non-negotiable habit. It's not about fancy techniques, just speak daily. Get a little bit better every single time and don't wait to feel ready. When you practice too much alone without any judgment, it's easy to stay in your comfort zone. But the moment you speak with a camera on or with someone else, it hits differently. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and that's good. Because speaking with yourself is not the same as speaking with someone else, or at least speaking with a camera. Even though you are alone, it feels like you are being watched or judged. You can't lie to yourself about that. Sometimes we think we need fancy techniques to speak better, but most of the time, you just need to go back to basics. Now that you know how to practice speaking without fear, let's move on to the skill that helps you understand English faster. Listening. Listening is the foundation of everything. But many people make the mistake of spending hours passively listening, which doesn't move the needle. Instead, I would focus on short, active listening sessions with content slightly above my level. Not too easy, not too hard. I would repeat the same materials multiple times, letting my brain absorb patterns naturally without overload. I would also mix passive listening during walks or tasks, breathing English in throughout the day. This balance would make listening both enjoyable and effective. With your ears sharper, reading becomes much easier, and that is our next skill. Reading was my secret weapon. At first, I hated it because I was trying to understand every single word, which was exhausting. What changed? I split reading into two parts. In the morning, I studied new vocabulary and took notes, really focusing. And every time I saw a new word, I would try to connect it to my life. For example, if I learned the word regret, I would stop and think, what's something I regret doing last year? In the evening, I read for enjoyment, following in stories without stressing about every word. This mix boosted my vocabulary, comprehension, and helped me think in English patterns, all while keeping reading fun. But fluency is not only about input, you need to express yourself too, which is where writing comes in. Writing is just speaking on a paper. When I first started, I froze, unable to organize my thoughts. To fix that, I developed a daily writing routine. I would spend 30 minutes free writing anything that came to mind, no rules. Then I would spend an hour on structured writing, explaining one idea clearly, like teaching someone else. Finally, I would write about personal topics that mattered to me. This practice trained my brain to think and organize ideas in English, which made speaking feel natural and confident. This is how I would approach each skill, always practicing in a flow, picking the right challenges, focusing deeply, and getting feedback. Now that you know what to focus on, the skills that actually move the needle, and how to practice them in a flow for maximum results, there is one final piece that ties it all together. Having the best mindset or the best skills won't make you fluent if you don't have a system. A reliable way to make all this learning automatic, consistent, and built into your daily life. Let me show you the system that I would build if I could start over. The one that would turn English learning from exhausting to effortless. I know systems might feel like this big, scary word, but don't worry. This is about simple routines that fit your life. It's not about perfection or huge time blocks. Even if you're busy, you can build a system that works with your energy and schedule. You cannot have the best techniques in the world without having a system that ties them all together. Otherwise, you'll be floating around, hoping things work out. But trust me, systems beat motivation every single time. If you think this is complicated, wait until you see how simple this system actually is. There are three core parts that make learning English feel automatic instead of exhausting. Work with your brain's natural energy cycles. Most learners either try to study for hours until they burn out or do 15 minutes scattered sessions that never build momentum. Both go against how the brain actually functions. Research shows the brain works best in roughly 90-minute focus periods, followed by 15-20 minutes breaks to recharge. One habit that I would adopt is eat the frog, tackling the hardest, most important task of your day first, during the peak focus window. That means putting the toughest English practice, speaking, right at the start of the day when the brain is fresh. This helps avoid procrastination and make sure energy goes to what matters most, rather than just saving it for later when focus goes away. After a 20-minute break, the next 90-minute cycle could be writing practice. Later in the afternoon, a 90-minute session for reading and vocabulary would be the last task that would require more focus. Once these focus blocks are done, the rest of the day would be about breathing English in, passive learning while doing other things. Instead of squeezing all work into one block that makes you tired, I would spread out about 4.5 hours of peak learning throughout the day, working with my brain's rhythms, like this. On days when motivation is low, having this system already in place with everything that I needed to practice already organized would make it easier to just start practicing and make real progress, even if it feels uncomfortable. Make English more rewarding than distractions. The brain craves easy rewards like social media or videos, making English practice feel extremely hard and uncomfortable by comparison. To flip this, I would try a 30-day English immersion that, if done right, I would be able to make this a habit in my life. All content consumed would be in English, not going back to my native language or scrolling on my phone like a zombie. I would also take advantage of the brain's natural desire for stimulation first thing in the morning and carry it throughout the day to make sure my dopamine levels were in control throughout the whole day, making it easier to learn English, creating a process that I called dopamine loading. Instead of feeding my brain with a phone or easy dopamine, I would feed it with English and leave the easier things for last. My daily routine might look like this to make sure my dopamine levels are in control. Wake up at 6 a.m., no phone or entertainment. 6:30 a.m., English practice when the brain is desperate for stimulation, making it feel rewarding. 8:30 a.m., small reward like coffee and light music while reviewing. Evening, bigger rewards like Netflix or social media, but only after English work is completed. This shifts the balance, making English the most rewarding part of my day instead of competing with distractions. Remove all decisions and fiction. Decision fatigue in a silent way kills consistency. Every choice, what to study, what video to watch, what to write about, drains mental energy. The key is to make English the path of least resistance by eliminating as many decisions as possible ahead of time. Your environment plays a huge role in how well you practice English and improve faster. For example, keep a book that you journal in English close to bed so it's the first thing you see each morning. Have English books ready by your practice spot. Switch your phone language to English only. Put distractions out of reach. Plan the entire week in one session. When and what to practice, which materials to use, and what topics to focus on. During the week, no decisions needed. Just follow the plan and execute. Putting all together, here's what a daily system would look like. So in the morning, 90 minutes for speaking, a 20-minute break, and more 90 minutes for writing. This would be the most important part of my day. Afternoon, I could go lighter, but still with a lot of focus. 90 minutes for reading, active listening, vocabulary, and then a break. Evening is when I wouldn't be able to focus as much. So it would be more about passive learning. Light entertainment in English, like watching Netflix, watching YouTube videos, and planning the next day. That is about 4.5 hours of focused practice and a few hours of passive exposure. Of course, this is not gonna work for everybody. If life gets busy with work or school, this routine can be adapted to your own life. It's not about finding time, it's about prioritizing what matters and aligning with your brain's natural rhythms. With the right mindset, skills, and a system like this, something magical happens. English stops feeling like work and it becomes part of who you are. You start translating in your head and start thinking in English. You stop avoiding conversations and start seeking them out. You become the kind of person who is fluent, not just someone trying to become fluent. That is the outcome waiting for you when this system is in place. No matter how shy, awkward, or behind you feel right now, you already have what it takes to succeed. The question is, will you start? Look, your English journey starts now. And if you already started, you can change everything and make it easier and better. If you got this far, it means you're serious about this. So just know that I'm building something special specifically for introverted English learners just like you. And the people that stick around will be the first ones to see it when it's ready. By the way, if you want to watch the whole story of how I became fluent in a straight to the point way, watch this video next. I see you very soon.